All right, hello everybody and welcome. How's everyone doing? Today is June 15th, 2017. I'm Darkside Phil and welcome to Hate Live, my podcast, which returned in full force last month. As you know, it was on hiatus for a good year to year and a half, but things have changed. As usual, things always moving forward, and Hate Live has returned, okay? So let's talk. This episode of Hate Live in particular is going to be pretty good. Why? Because there's a ton to talk about, all right? Just to give you a brief summary of what you can expect on the podcast, let's go through a little laundry list of stuff that we'll be doing. Number one, I'll be talking about recent events. I'll be talking about all the games that I've been playing and the other things that I've been up to, some schedule changes and things that are happening because of some life changes that have happened to me recently. How my allergies are negatively affecting me, which you could probably hear right now in my throat. Right now, my throat is all gunked up. So I'm going to do my best to talk, but understand if I need to clear my throat or if it's hoarse, I need to take a sip of water or get a lozenge or whatever. It's because my allergies are really negatively affecting me badly right now, okay? Then I'm going to talk about the games I've been playing and some other stuff that's been going on. I'm going to talk about my summer gaming plans because right now we're about to hit the summer. It's about to start, right? And the summer typically is a dead time for gaming. Let's face it. In fact, there's going to be probably an extended period of time during the summer when there's no new releases. And I'm going to have to find a way to entertain all of you here live on stream or on demand on YouTube, right? And no matter how you watch, you're going to want to see new content. So I've got some ideas of things that I can do. And talk about, or I'm going to talk about on the stream here. And I think I've kind of roughly figured out the schedule and how I want to handle it, of what I want to do for my downtime games and balance that with Patron's Choice events and stuff like that, okay? So we'll talk about that. Then I'm going to go through a big gaming calendar update where I'm going to just go right through my gaming calendar over here and read off all of the new releases that now have finally been announced at E3, because E3 just ended, and now we've got all these tons of new release dates and everything that are available, right? So I want to go through that, because there were a lot of updates and release dates given that previously had not been available, and I want to make sure that people know what I'm covering between now and kind of the end of the year. Not to say that this will be the definitive schedule, because as you know, things evolve, all right? And things change on the regular. But at least you'll have a rough idea based off of what was announced at E3 of the stuff that I'm going to be covering between now and the end of 2017, all right? And then, speaking of E3, there's going to be a segment where I go through kind of a summary of all the things that happened at E3. I have all my press conference notes here, so I'm just going to kind of skim through them and tell you the good stuff and the bad stuff about each press conference. And I'm going to tell you who I think had the best press conference and kind of just do a summarized recap of E3. I am going to talk a little bit about Nintendo as well, because Nintendo did have some news at their it's not even they don't even have a press conference. I don't even know what you call it, a briefing. What the hell do you call what Nintendo does at E3? I don't even know. A little bit of news there. I'll talk about that as well. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. And then the final segment of today's podcast is going to be a Q&A segment where I open it up to the stream chat and they're able to participate and ask me questions, and I'll pick some questions to answer for a Q&A segment at the very end of the show, all right? So how long will the show be? I don't know. Honestly, I am hoping it's a little bit on the shorter side because of my voice. I certainly don't want to talk so much that I lose my voice. As you can tell, I'm actually talking a little bit lower than I usually do because I don't want to be coarse by the end of this thing, but more than likely I'm going to end up being anyway. I'll probably break the show up into segments for YouTube, so that way if you're watching this on YouTube, you can watch it by segment rather than, oh, 1 2-hour show, and now what the hell was in it? I'll probably break it up. Like right now, this is the intro, and I'll probably talk about recent events and allergies and the games I've been playing and stuff like that in the first chunk. And then probably the second chunk will be like, going through the gaming calendar or something like that. Maybe the third chunk will be E3 and Q&A. I don't know. We'll see how it works. I'll probably do it by time as well. The good thing that I have to mention, since I started using OBS Studio as my capture software a few months back, OBS Studio is great because at the very bottom of the screen when you start recording, it actually has a timer. And that timer tells you how long you've been recording. So right now, for example, I've been recording for around 6 minutes. So I can tell, oh, 30 minutes? Okay, I should split the part. You know what I mean? Previously, OBS didn't have that. And I would have to look at clocks or whatever, which is, you know, you're doing it by hand. I like that this has that. So it allows me to, on the fly, split the parts a lot easier, which is nice. All right, so a couple shout-outs quickly. First of all, shout-out to Baron Bonghits6969, who did a 10-bit cheer. And he said, Orb Dad. I have no idea what that means. Maybe it was in reaction to something that was happening earlier. I have no idea. And then shout out to Andromeda 18, who just subscribed to my channel. Thank you, Andromeda. Hope you enjoy all the emotes you now have access to, and the fact that when I run ads, you don't have to watch them. Okay, cool. So, let us get started, ladies and gents. Let's start talking here. Okay. Actually, let me take a sip of my drink first. Yes, once again, gratuitous plug for VA Energy Drinks, which I get no money from because I don't have a sponsorship with them. It would be nice if I did, because I love these freaking drinks. Seriously, like, it's funny because over the years, I've done so many different drinks. When you think about it, think back, like when I first started doing YouTube, I was promoting, like, what was it, Jolt Cola or something like that I was drinking, and I really liked it. And then I fell out of that, and I started getting these little, like, condensed meal drinks that had, like, condensed fruits and veggies and things in this little shot that I would take. Then I stopped doing that, and I started doing, what was it, Gamer Fuel or something? Yeah, I started doing that. No, G Fuel. I started doing G Fuel, right? I did that for a long time. And then when I moved here to Washington, then I started drinking Mountain Dew Kickstarter. And now I've gone from Kickstarter to VA Energy, which I think by far is the best out of everything I've drank. Because first of all, it's 34% juice. I don't know if you can see that on the can. But it actually has a lot of vitamins and things in it that are good for you. And it's not chock full of sugar. It's only got 50 calories and 12 grams of carbohydrates in it. So it's not super sweet. It's not like an over sugary drink. It's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't like pump your body full of shit that's going to make you crash later. And it's actually considered an actual serving of fruits and vegetables because it has so much actual fruit and vegetable juice in it, which is nice. So, for example, this one says blackberry cranberry, but it actually has white grape juice, purple carrot juice, cranberry juice, and blackberry juice in it, and green tea extract. So, some pretty good stuff. And no, again, they're not my sponsor or nothing. I just really like the drink, you know. And if there's something that I like, I'll tell you about it. You know, over the years, I've brought up stuff that I felt was something that might help you out, okay? All right. So let's talk. First of all, Tyler the Drawer just did a 10-bit cheer and said V81E3. We'll be talking about E3 in a bit. But first, this first segment, what I want to do is I want to talk about recent events. I want to talk about what I've been up to. Things that I've covered, how things are changing around here, and stuff like that. All right. First of all, obviously, as you can hear in my voice, my allergies have been killing me recently, okay? In fact, in this state of Washington, the pollen count is like at record highs right now. Typically, pollen would come out like in droves in like April or May, but for whatever reason this year it was June that it slammed everyone. And so for the past week to week and a half, everyone has been sneezing and coughing. And in particular, I was sneezing, and then I had sinus issues for a couple days, and then that cleared up. But now my throat has swollen up, and I'm like, ugh. So, I do apologize. I'm sure you've been hearing it in the gameplay videos. You probably hear it right now. I'm doing my best to do whatever I can. You know what I mean? Like, there's not much I could do about it besides just take medicine. So, right now I'm on Mucinex, but I'm also on cough medicine, because the Mucinex helps with my sinuses and the gunk. But the cough medicine also is going to help. So, we'll see what happens. It really does suck that it came out like now, you know. In particular, because it's the summer, I need to have my air conditioner on. And the air conditioner is probably just blowing pollen right in the fucking window from outside. And there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, it has a filter in it. And I clean it like once a week. But it's only so much that it can do, right? Allergies suck no matter how you look at them. And I get them every single year. It's no exception. You know, I get them no matter what. What I'm going to do soon is I'm going to clean my house. What I mean by that is I'm going to do like some serious dusting because there's some serious fucking dust in this house, and I know that since I haven't really particularly cleaned it very well, that it's probably affecting my sinuses as well. You know, it's one thing when you get allergies during the season, it's another thing when your house is fucking dusty all the time, too. So I am going to try to clean up as much as I can and make it a better environment here, because I can't, you know, I can't just be like this every day. You know what I mean? And the last time that I was like this was in January, but that was because I was, like, sick. I was actually had a cold, and then it wouldn't go away. And I need to get rid of it, so... anyway, just throwing that out there. I know you can hear it in my voice. You know, I wanted to get that out there. Now, let's talk about everything that I've kind of been up to recently. All right, so the past few weeks have been kind of interesting because I swear to God, I don't know what happened, but it was like a fighting game explosion. Within 3 weeks, and this is no exaggeration, we had the release of Injustice 2. Then it was Ultra Street Fighter 2, although I didn't get it because I didn't have a Nintendo Switch yet. And then it was Tekken 7, all within 3 weeks. And that's crazy because, first of all, you know, I haven't played fighters in a very long time. And I used to cover fighters all the time when fighters were more prominent, and fighters have not been prominent in the past few years. Maybe you get 1 or 2 a year, and they're not really that abundant like they were at one point. So for me to actually cover fighting games is kind of a rarity in this day and age, right? And I've been enjoying jumping back into fighting games the way that I have in the past almost full month. Actually, at this point, it has been a full month as of tomorrow, because Injustice 2 came out May 16th, and tomorrow is the 16th of June. So I've been playing fighters pretty crazily non-stop for the past month. But I understand if there's some people who've been turned off, because besides fighting games, the only other new games that have been out was Friday the 13th. Okay, but that only goes so far. It's not like that's a game that I can play constantly. And some episodic titles, like there was The Walking Dead's final episode for Season 3, and there was a Guardians of the Galaxy episode. But outside of that, there really were no other major releases to break anything up. So, being that everything was based around fighters, I could definitely understand why people are like, man, Phil's been playing fucking fighting games for like weeks now. What the hell? When's something else coming out? I totally get it. But you know me, I cover the new releases, and the new releases have all been competitive fighting games, which is crazy that they, like, again, I have to say this. What is up with game publishers? Do they not fucking look at a game schedule and see their competition and say, gee, if we all release the same style of game in the same period of time, a short period of time, we'll probably undercut each other, we'll probably kill the market, and just by default, we'll get less game sales because we all released a similar type of game at the same time. Like, for me, for the consumer, I see it firsthand, because when I know I'm buying 3-4 fighters within 2 weeks, and I'm playing them all, and I see people are burnt out on them, I see it happening firsthand. Why can't the people who make the fucking games see that? And this always happens. I remember a couple years back, there was a month where there were like 4 fucking JRPGs that released at the same time. It's like, are you stupid? I just don't get it. Like, how do you not figure this out? And the thing is, it's been like this ever since I did YouTube. It's not like this is a new pattern. This is something that typically happens all the time with games. And I just don't understand what is up with these publishers, that they don't get it. They don't understand that this is a bad practice, right? I don't know. So that's what I've been covering recently, is fighters. For me, a good thing, because I like fighting games, even though it's a lot of salt and rage. And, you know, when I play online, yeah, I swear a lot, and I get angry when I lose to fucking bullshit tactics or lag or whatever. But that's some of the appeal. People like that. That's why people come to watch my videos. You're certainly not coming to DSP Gaming or my live streams to see the upper echelon of tournament play, because as you know, I don't care that much. I like to learn the basics of games. I will play at a level where at least it's semi-competitive and I can at least have some competitive matches, but it's not like I'm trying to be a tournament winner or anything like that. You know what I mean? There's plenty of other channels you can go to for that stuff. You come to me for the entertainment value of seeing someone like me who has some chops in fighting games, trying to learn a game from the ground up, and going online and reacting badly to things like lag, right? That's the appeal. I get that. I get that people come to see the salty streams and stuff like that. So, that's what I've been up to recently. Now, on the flip side of that, outside of the gaming aspect of all that, recently I've had some life changes, and these came to light about 2 weeks ago. I finally publicly announced that I'm now single for the first time in 5 freaking years. Now, I say that, but in reality, first of all, I'd been single for over a month. It actually had been something that had happened in the past, and I didn't want to publicly talk about it until basically it was something that was in the past. I didn't want stupid drama being dragged out publicly and all kinds of shit like that. Because you knew that was going to happen. I'm sure it's happening, and I'm completely ignoring it. I'm oblivious to it, because I just don't give a shit. I just want to move forward positively, all right? So, what does this mean? It basically means that a lot of things that were kind of constraints and things on my lifestyle, including scheduling and stuff like that, aren't really constraints anymore. So, to give you some perspective, tomorrow is the release of a new video game, ARMS, for the Nintendo Switch. Now, normally, I get all my games digitally, right? You might say, well, why has Phil been getting all his games digitally for the past year and a half? Didn't he used to get all his games at like a game store, and then he would trade them in to get game credit afterwards and all of that? Yes, but here's what happened. I basically didn't have access to my car anymore because my girlfriend at the time was going to work and was taking the car almost every day. So I could no longer, on Tuesdays and Fridays, which are the release days here for games in the United States, if I didn't have access to the car, I couldn't go get the games. So basically, I totally changed my lifestyle, and I said, all right, I'm not going to physically buy games anymore and trade them in and do all that. Instead, I'm going to go digital. I'm going to get everything digitally, so that way I don't ever have to really worry about not having transportation or anything like that. So tomorrow, as a change, right, I'm kind of going back to the way it used to be. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to GameStop in the morning. They open at 10, so I'll probably go between 10 and 10:30. And I'm bringing a big stack of games. I don't have it here because I brought them downstairs. I already got them ready. A big stack of games from the past year and a half that I've accumulated. It was the last batch of physical games that I had, and I never traded in. And so I'm going to be trading those in and seeing what kind of credit they'll give me for it. In addition, I've got a $50 credit voucher because I have a ton of the GameStop power-up rewards points accumulated from over the years. And it's like $200 of credit that I can use, but you can only use one coupon per transaction, maximum of $50. So I print out this $50 coupon that I can use, and I also should have some pre-order credit there because I know I had some games pre-ordered last year that I never picked up. So I probably got some money floating around at GameStop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up ARMS, and I'm going to buy a Pro Controller for the Switch because, ladies and gentlemen, I've been trying to play Ultra Street Fighter 2 this week. It's almost unplayable, and I'll be honest, I have a really good record in the game. Like, I've won over 100 matches. In fact, as of last night, I think I've won like 140-something matches, but I've only lost like maybe 30 or 40, so pretty good record. But honestly, the only reason that I'm doing so well is because Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is the game that I'm the best at. You know what I mean? Like, of all games that I've ever played, I am the best at Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I was a tournament level player. You know what I mean? I placed at EVO. I won EVO qualifying tournaments for it. I'm really good at Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which is the game that Ultra Street Fighter 2 is based off of. So it's only that innate knowledge of the game and years of experience that are allowing me to actually win in matches. I'm playing like shit. Like, I'm dropping moves left and right. That Joy-Con is a piece of garbage. And, you know, a lot of people have been telling me the Joy-Cons are defective. Yeah, I see it firsthand. I'll be in the middle of a match, right? And I'll be just holding down back to block. And all of a sudden, my character will just stand up and not defend or do anything. And I found out what it is the left Joy-Con actually desyncs temporarily with the console for like a second and doesn't respond at all. And it's like, how the fuck do you make a game system with a controller that regularly desyncs from the console and you think this is acceptable? Like, I don't know what Nintendo was thinking. So, seriously. And, oh, here you go. Big bad skunk just said the Joy-Cons regularly drop inputs. Wow. So it's a known issue that you're playing a game and it'll just not fucking react. What a piece of garbage. All right. So that's really shit. So I'm getting the Pro. I have to, and it's $70 fucking dollars, which it's really killing me that I have to spend $70 to get a working fucking controller for the Switch. But at this point, I think I need it. I mean, if I'm going to be playing ARMS, and I'm going to be playing more Ultra Street Fighter 2 and other games coming up, I need a controller that's going to fucking work. So, I will, hopefully as of tomorrow, be going to GameStop and getting credit for games, using the $50 coupon, and whatever credit I have at the store, won't be dropping a ton of money in order to get ARMS in this Pro controller. We'll see, but I don't know, you know, hopefully I only end up dropping a few bucks versus, you know, just think about it, because ARMS is $60, right? It's full price game, and the freaking Pro controller is $70, so that's $130. Hopefully I can at least knock like maybe 70, 80 bucks off the price tag, so I'm not breaking the bank here, okay? That would be nice. Okay, so that's what I mean. Like, see how my lifestyle is kind of opening up a little bit, and in particular, if you haven't noticed the past few weeks, sometimes I'm going later on my streams because I don't have to rush to get to dinner or whatever anymore. And in particular, one way that this is very positively going to affect upcoming gameplay streams and videos is that when I do marathons or when I want to do a midnight release, I'm going to be able to do it for whatever I want. You know, it used to be, oh, I have to discuss it with my girlfriend, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and yada, yada, yada. Now, whatever I want to do, I can do. And honestly, I have no problem with maybe sometimes, oh, I'm just going to do an impromptu stream tonight out of nowhere. Maybe I'll come up here and play a session of Ultra Street Fighter 2 just for the hell of it because I feel like it. Or I want to do a midnight release stream of this game or that game, and I could just do it and not have to have any of those constraints, right? So in a lot of ways, what's going to happen here is that my life is going to go back to the way it was before I moved to Washington, right? And that's a good thing for my content. You guys are going to get more of me. You're going to get more flexibility when it comes to me. And that's a good thing. Now, of course, keep in mind, when I lived in Connecticut, most of the time I wasn't live streaming. It was just videos. So it is a little different, and I do have to adjust my life and everything to it. And I'm still getting in the groove. My sleep schedule is still screwed up completely. And I have not gotten back to a consistent sleep schedule yet. So some nights I can fall right asleep. I'm awake the next day. I'm bright, you know, bushy-tailed and bright-eyed. I'm ready to go. And other days I just can't fucking sleep. And I'm like, oh God. And I fall asleep at like 4 and 5 in the morning. And I got to get up at 10. And I'm trying to do a stream. I'm like, oh God. So it varies. All right. We'll see what happens here, with this. But I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, back to the groove of things, of doing things on my own time and my own schedule, and we'll see how it goes, okay? So in particular, actually, a lot of things have changed around here recently. I actually, last week, got rid of my old leased BMW, which I had a leased BMW for 5 years, and what a bad decision that was. Allow me to explain, for those of you who are like, what the hell? Fill out a BMW? Why do you have a BMW when, you know, he said, you know, recently in months that financially things were tight and everything? That was for like a relic of a past era. It really was. That was like my old life of being a YouTuber who was making a ridiculous amount of money and all of that. What ended up happening was, way back when, excuse me, way back when in 2012, okay, I was driving a beat-up, falling apart Pontiac Grand Am. That was my old car, and I had that car for a while. In fact, if I remember correctly, I bought it right after I had gotten out of college. So I bought it probably around 2005. And I drove it everywhere. I used to drive it to and from work. I used to drive it to Street Fighter tournaments. I drove that car all the way down to like Virginia, Tennessee from Connecticut and back. I drove it everywhere. And I drove into the ground and the car was falling apart. All right. Now, you got to put yourself in my perspective. Back then, when I was 2012 YouTuber Darkside Phil, I was still incredibly popular. You know what I mean? Like, I was one of the big known gaming YouTubers when it came to covering every new release and everything. Streaming wasn't as popular or anything like that back then. It was really more about YouTube as a focus. Now things have kind of flipped, but back then it was more about, you know, on-demand videos on YouTube and all of that. And I was one of the most prolific YouTubers. So, in particular, 2012 was the best year financially for me ever. And it was actually 2012 when I did all these kind of projects. If you remember, I went to different conventions and stuff that year. Project 7 launched that year, and I financed all of that by myself. And also, that year I went to E3, and I paid for the trip and everything going out there. And that was actually the year I got out of debt. That year I paid off all of my outstanding debt from my past life, my student loans, my credit cards, everything got paid off that year because YouTube was so good for me. But at the same time, my car was falling apart and I wanted a new car. Now, it just so happened that there was a BMW dealership, I'm not even kidding you, not even a mile away from my house back then. And I always, of course, I wanted a luxury car. I wanted to see what it was like to have a luxury car. And at the time, I was making so much money doing YouTube, I said I should lease this car. And I purposely did a lease instead of buying the car because I was nervous that if I bought the car and the YouTube money ran out or dried up, that I wouldn't be able to afford the payments anymore. And now what are you going to do because you're stuck with this car and it's a big loan and you can't pay it? Versus a lease is only a set amount of years, and therefore if things changed with YouTube or whatever, I would be able to dump the lease and get a cheaper car. That was always my intention. So I actually remember I drove my Grand Am to the dealership and it was leaking oil and the window was broken. It sunk into the fucking door and it was basically about to explode. And I ended up getting a BMW and leasing a BMW, all right? And it was good. BMWs are great cars, all right? But what ended up happening was, around mid-2014, so we're talking about 2 years later, I wanted to move. I wanted to move from Connecticut to Washington. Now, I wasn't going to drive the car across the country, or anything like that. So I went to BMW and I said, I'm pretty much done with this car early. I'd like to, turn it in, but what's the deal with that? And they were like, well, you can't. If you turn in your car early, you're still responsible for all of the payments on the lease, because I still had at least 6 months left on the lease, or you can turn it in early and we'll charge you like thousands of dollars in fees, which ends up being like half of the amount of what was left on the lease payments. Now, I already was paying a ridiculous amount of money to move across the country. In fact, I don't know if I've told anyone this yet. When I moved across the country, just the movers alone cost about, I'm not even exaggerating, about probably $6,000 to $7,000 to move my shit across the country. Because I had a lot of shit. A lot of the stuff in this house is from the East Coast, the old place. It was very expensive to move my shit across the country. So I didn't have another several $1,000s to freaking drop on to end this lease early. So I decided, well, I didn't decide. I went to BMW and I said, how are we going to do this? And they basically told me, well, here's the deal. We'll give you a break. If you take a new BMW on a new lease, we will completely expunge any of the fees and things that you have on the car. And I said, okay, sounds good to me. So they signed me up for a new BMW that I was told at the time was supposed to have the same features as the car that I was turning in. It was supposed to be the equivalent car for it cost slightly more a month to get this new BMW, but I was going to be able to turn in the old car, get this new car, and they were going to ship this new car across the country from Connecticut to Washington and deliver it personally to me here at my new house, okay? Sounds great, right? Sounds like a good deal. Only the problems began when, number one, they couldn't deliver the car when they originally promised. It ended up being delayed by 2 to 3 weeks. Then when they delivered the car, they only gave me one set of keys. And I'm like, where's the other key? And the guy delivering the car is like, hell if I know. They gave me this one set and this is yours. See you later. And he left. And I'm like, so if I ever lose this key, I'm completely fucked, right? Because they only gave me one ever. They didn't put the license plate on the front of the car. They were supposed to do that and they didn't. So they never drilled the holes to do it. And in the state of Washington, you're supposed to have a plate on the front of your car, and they didn't know that. So I basically drove the car with no license plate on the front for 3 years when I was supposed to have it. And they ripped me off with the car because guess what? It didn't have the equivalent features of the car that I had in Connecticut. It didn't have a heated steering wheel. It didn't have satellite radio at all, which blew me away because that was one of the features I loved about the old BMW. I was listening to Howard Stern or whatever. Didn't have it. So I contacted the guy in Connecticut. I called him, I emailed him, and I'm like, dude, what's going on? What happened with this car? He completely blew me off. He never responded. He basically just never contacted me for anything. I was supposed to get free maintenance on the car because it's a BMW, they never even contacted me to do the maintenance on the car. So I never got my free maintenance on the car at all. They fucked me over, basically. And they shipped me this car and basically said, well, he's gone. He's across the country. There's nothing he can fucking do. So fuck him. And they completely ignored me for 3 years. So I already had, once all that happened, I was like, I have no intention of ever going with these people again. Like, I couldn't believe how badly I was treated just getting the shove off, basically. Because they didn't live up to the car they were supposed to give me, everything. They basically just blew me off like assholes. So I had this BMW for 3 years, and as you guys know, things change. You know, my YouTube channels certainly have not been anywhere near as popular as they used to be. YouTube ad revenue plummeted. You know, a lot of things change. I'm still incredibly happy that I could do this as a job, full time, which is awesome. But it sucks that, you know, things change and you can't exactly do what you want to do all the time. And, you know, I can't afford the BMW. It's just too fucking expensive. Way expensive. And the bottom line is, I don't use the features that are in the thing anyway. Like, BMW has this stupid thing, okay? It's a satellite system they build into every car. You may not know this if you've never driven a BMW before. It's roadside assistance. And so if you break down, there's a button in your BMW you push, and it uses a satellite connection system to connect you to help. And it'll detect you through a GPS system, and they'll send help to you, okay? Now, when the fuck did I ever drive this car anywhere where this was going to be something that I needed? You know what I mean? The BMW just has these crazy superfluous features that I don't need. I mean, I really enjoyed the built-in GPS system that it has, but the bottom line is you can get that for free, okay? With my new car, I bought this little mount that I put on air vent, and I take my phone and I put it in it, and I use this app called, I think it's called the Waze app or something like that, and use this Google Maps to give you free GPS. So I basically have right now in my new car what I was paying ridiculous amounts of money for in the BMW, and it's just as good. So, you know, there you go. Kind of silly, right? That I paid so much freaking money. Absolutely ridiculous. So the BMW's gone. And I now have a new car that is way less expensive. Holy shit. To give you some perspective, I have reduced my monthly payments for a car by, between the car payment and the insurance, $280 a month. Holy shit. Like, wow. And the car I have, I think the car I have looks better than the BMW. The car I have doesn't drive as good as the BMW. That was the thing. The BMW had amazing brakes and amazing acceleration. But I'm not looking for a fucking crazy-ass driving car. I'm not going to be driving crazy performance on the highway and shit like that. I just need a car to get me around locally, and that's it. So the car I have now, I'm happy with, and I'm happy that I downgraded, and you know what I mean? That's kind of the lifestyle changes I'm kind of making now. So pretty good. But anyway, I got a funny story to tell you in regards to the new car. I talked about this on Twitter, but I think telling you this story firsthand would be a lot more entertaining, okay? And then actually, we'll take a break because I'm over 30 minutes into this first segment. And then the second segment, we'll start talking about my summer gaming plans and the gaming schedule and all that stuff, okay? So, the other day was it was actually exactly 1 week ago. I took a full day off from streaming and from videos and everything to basically do stuff that I needed to get done. I had to bring the BMW and bring it to the dealership here and get rid of it. I wanted to drive my new car around for a whole day to get a handle on the car and get used to driving it. I had a lot of errands that I had to do. In particular, some shopping and stuff like that. The odds and ends for the house and things that now that I'm single again, I'm like, oh, this needs to get done, this needs to get done. So I had time to do it. Now, my new car, I haven't done anything in regards to, like, loading music or whatever, you know, with it. I haven't burned a CD of music. I don't have any music. I actually don't have music on my iPhone, which I know a lot of people are like, what the fuck? A lot of people have tons of music that they put on their phones. They listen to it regularly. I don't have any of that. I have music, but it's all, like, on my PC, okay? So I need to do that. I need to, like, make a CD or whatever and get it in the new car so I have music when I drive. But I don't have that yet. So, when I was coming home on Thursday of last week, I'm pulling into my driveway, okay? And during the day, I was trying to figure out how do I sync my phone with the car and get it to work with the new car. Because all the cars have this Bluetooth syncing now, that feature and all of that, right? And I did get the phone to sync with the car. And it was actually, I was testing that Waze app that I had mentioned. It was giving me like turn-by-turn directions. And it was verbally telling me through the speakers of the car how to get where, to somewhere. And I was like, okay, this is great. So everything was synced and everything with the phone. But I have no music in the phone and no music in the car. So I'm pulling into my garage, okay? And as I stop the car, all of a sudden, I hear this low sound. I'm like, what is that? And it's building. And it sounds like an orchestra, almost like a symphony. And it's building around me. It's like, oh, it's getting louder. And I'm looking around like, what the hell's going on? What is happening? I have no idea what's going on around me. What could be happening? And I was completely flustered. I was nervous. And I was like, and then it got real loud, like it was coming to a fever pitch. Like there was, and then boom, an explosion of music and sound. You could hear guitars and drums playing. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I swear to God, I thought it was like, do you ever see the movie The Truman Show starring Jim Carrey? It's a movie where Jim Carrey supposedly is the ultimate reality TV guy, where since he was a baby, his entire life was faked. Everything around him was staged and everyone was an actor acting, but he wasn't in on it. He didn't know that. So he, all of a sudden, the fourth wall started to break and he would see little things that were going wrong on the set or, and he would, all of a sudden he realized that he was in like a virtual world. It wasn't real. And all of a sudden I'm sitting here and I hear this music start playing around me. I'm like, what the fuck? Is someone about to come out and prank me? You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden I start hearing lyrics and it's fucking Bono from U2 singing. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I look down at my, my screen in my new car and it basically says, oh, U2, some song or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then it came to a realization that this stupid phone, all right, the iPhone, this happened a couple years ago if you're not aware. Everyone who owned an Apple device, automatically without your permission, your Apple device downloaded a whole U2 album automatically for free. I guess it was some partnership U2 had with Apple where they wanted to give away their album for free to Apple consumers or whatever. And it had just auto-downloaded here, and I didn't even know that it was on the phone or where it was. And apparently what had happened was my new car was trying to sync fully with the phone, and it just so happened it did as I was pulling into my garage, and it auto-played the music, and it scared the living shit out of me. I mean, seriously, like, I've been mind-fucked certain times. That was like one of the biggest mind-fuck moments of my life. All of a sudden music is surrounding me and playing out of fucking nowhere and I have no idea what's going on. I was like, what the shit? I was expecting like people to burst out of my door, my garage, be like, oh, surprise, Phil, this is your life and shit. I don't know. That was really weird. But anyway, as of now, I've officially deleted the fucking shitty YouTube music. And by the way, there was also a Rod Stewart Christmas song on here. What the fuck? Like, I've ever listened to Rod Stewart in my entire life, right? So I deleted the fucking music, and now I gotta work on getting the music, from my PC to the phone and all of that. But, alright. So that's it for the first segment of Hate Live, folks. Just a little bit about me, what's been going on with me. I'm gonna take a quick break, so I'm gonna split the part. When I come back, what we're gonna start talking about is my summer gaming plans. What I'm planning on doing the next several weeks for game coverage. What games are going to be downtime games for the summer, because I've decided. And then we're going to talk about the updated gaming schedule. I'm going to go through the entire gaming calendar. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about E3 and do a Q&A segment. All right? All right, so I got some shout-outs to do. Hold on. Before we end this segment, because a lot of people were cheering and everything, and I didn't respond. Shout out to the Moondog6 who subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Moondog, for subscribing. Shout out to Baron Bong, hit 6969, hit 100-bit cheer, and did this crazy-ass message. First things first, I'm not reading this. I don't know what it means. I don't want to get in trouble. Mike Jones tipped me $1 and said, serious question, would I bang Ricky Ortiz? No, I would not bang Ricky Ortiz. Mally216 subscribed to the channel. Thank you, Mally. Purio Niku did 100-bit cheer and says, Connecticut condo Phil Height. Yes, I know. Whenever I tell these kind of back-in-the-day stories, people like them. So, you know what? That kind of was an impromptu back in the day story that I told about the cars, wasn't it? And thank you to the Fury One, who also did a 100-bit cheer and said, Phil, I like your reviews and gameplay. Keep doing more. I rely on you and Angry Joe for the best stuff. Thank you for the praise. I appreciate it. All right, it's time for a break. I'll be back in a few minutes here on stream with part 2 of the Hit Live podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, just go to part 2, okay? Thanks, everyone, and I'll be back shortly. See you then.